Some push the bar so far it becomes something artistic in and of itself.
See, like,
Interspecies
that's one of those
reviewer,
moments
metamorphosis.
where like he just shows some anime and it's like, I think it was like Aiken or something. I've never seen the show. I've heard it talked about being trash. It wasn't like a well-known trash anime unless you're somebody who's like watched a bunch of videos about like what anime are infamously trash. Like nobody's watched that show. Maybe people have seen people talk about how bad that show is. Nobody watched that. Just throwing it in there like, oh, and there's also bad anime. Like, it's way funnier if you like interject a clip of a bad anime, but just like throwing up a picture of an anime that some people are aware of as a bad anime like doesn't communicate to me the badness of anime being bad, you know?
Of the Overfiend. These are works that are extremely explicit, but because of the nature of their stories, they're able to tell you something really interesting. Either a really good comedy using outrageous visuals to push the boundary way too far, to shock you, whether to use depraved horror to deeply upset you, to send a message about our society, or simply to communicate a cosmic horror story that makes mankind feel small and fragile. You couldn't do that unless you went to the extremes.
See, like, I knew what all those images were, but I don't know if mentally you would connect those images to the things that he's saying if you didn't know what... Was one of those Cathead Inako? Or is that Metamorphosis? That's the Metamorphosis girl, right? Okay. Similar stories. Yeah, like, I know it's somewhat famous as an upsetting manga, but, like, if you don't know this manga, I don't know that this visual being on screen for, like, 2 seconds communicates anything, you know?
Or simply to communicate a cosmic horror story that makes mankind feel
okay,
small
that's Urotsuki
and fragile.
Doji. I know that that's a story about demons destroying the world. That wasn't a clip that like, the apocalypse happens in that movie. Show, like, the world getting destroyed in Akira or something. Like, show something that communicates what you're saying, not just an image from a movie that is about what you're saying, you know?
Unless you went to the extremes these stories went to. And it's not for everyone. In fact, it's really not, maybe it's not even for anyone. But the fact these stories are allowed to exist and thrive is something admirable in the medium itself. That we can reward extreme storytelling without flinching back, without drawing back. And these titles are not just relegated to weird, obscure movie trivia, but they're celebrated in some cases. Widely so, by mainstream YouTube critics, because of how outrageous they are, because of how much they push the bar. You can't get that with Western media. Not because it's too extreme for our abilities, but because no studio would put money into something so outrageous with such a limited potential audience. You wouldn't make back your budget. But also, I do want to mention one thing before we move on, and that's josei. Josei can sometimes have some pretty explicit stuff, but